on that.
Probably.
This meeting is being recorded.
So yes.
Luckily, we had detailed minutes. So, but we'll have to work on that. But yes, we've been putting them up on our YouTube site and with a link to that. So, but I would say with any website, if you haven't noticed it with your own town website, sometimes pieces change and just let us know. And it's usually a quick fix. You just need to talk to the right technical person, and in 5 minutes they have it fixed. So, all right, so we will continue to move forward with that, and we just thought we'd touch base, and these are good questions.
And I think it's worth mentioning that the discussion of the website really kind of stemmed originally from this request for a dashboard from a lot of people, but specifically CLF was looking for a dashboard. So this will be the home of that dashboard and then some. So worth noting that was, I don't know, Melissa, if you're going to ask that question. Moving on to, before we do to the RDA, I did want to give a quick update. I don't know if there's any update worth mentioning with PTAP and potential additional funding. Do you know anything about that, Sally?
I don't. Jamie,
Jamie, did you want to share
Looking for
anything
funding?
about PTAP? It might be.
The only thing I would say is the NHLMV community, so that's the permitted communities in the lower Merrimack Valley, are interested in potentially using PTAP as tracking and accounting, since it fulfills a lot of the obligations under the MS4, right? For either water quality limited water bodies or impaired water bodies. So I don't think the level of funding wouldn't be massive, it would be a couple $100 to get those communities in. What it would look like, though, is instead of having only 10 communities from the MAM or the Great Bay Total Nitrogen General Permit, or 12, you would have potentially more New Hampshire communities signing in. As long as you're focused on your community and your reports, I don't think much would change. It would just be that header page in the drop-down menu would have increased number of towns participating.
And honestly, I think that's good for us because the more people who are using it, one, the more it legitimizes that tracking method. Also, the more people using it, the more ideas that are going into it, the more people might say, hey, why don't we do credits for, I don't know, whatever, roof leader disconnection or something. And so kind of the better the product is going to be. So I think that's worth sharing because MAM is currently funding it, but it's always been open to anyone in New Hampshire. So. All right, sorry. Now, moving on to item number 6, discussion of the RDA petition status. I don't see anyone from EPA joining us today, but I did get an email from Mel Cody ahead of this meeting, and he just saying, there really is no update. They're continuing to look at it. They're continuing to look at what the impervious areas are, et cetera. So there was no update from EPA. Melissa, do you have any updates from CLF? Oh, Eric, I'm sorry, I didn't see you there. I think maybe you're muted.
We have no audio for Eric.
Eric, I think you're muted, or maybe something's just not working.
Okay, how about that?
There we go.
All right, thanks. Sorry. So basically, I don't have anything additional to report. That I'm not working on RDA, so I don't have anything that I can really say about it. But I think that's so. What Mel sent you is I think all I can contribute.
Okay.
But thank you.
Yep. Thanks, Eric. Melissa, any update from CLF's perspective?
No, not with respect to whatever may or may not be going on at EPA, but just that Jamie Houle and the Environmental Finance Center are continuing to work on a sort of a memo on sustainable funding for stormwater, mechanisms for sustainable funding for stormwater, and we're hoping that however this project evolves, we could ultimately end up with some kind of model that would enable communities who are following this type of model may be eligible for exemption from RDA. So it's very premature to see exactly how that's going to evolve, but that is our hope.
Okay, all right, great.
And I could just add into what Melissa said. I spoke with Tom Irwin this morning, and he and I and Melissa and others will probably get together, in the early part of the new year, because, Portsmouth is considering whether to, go forward, probably in the fall of next year with a stormwater utility, if it looks like we've got some good movement in a way that doesn't result in inconsistent or duplicative regulation, because that was the only holdup from our perspective for moving forward. So yeah, hopefully we'll have some good conversations in the new year.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? All right, moving on to stakeholder comment. Anyone want to share anything? Yeah. Kala?
Thank you. Suzanne mentioned earlier that if anybody wanted to chat with PrEP or Brown and Caldwell offline, and I just want to second that. And I've said it before, we're very enthusiastic, especially given that we had our State of Our Estuaries conference in June, and we have lots of reports left and lots of sort of intellectual energy around this right now. We're very happy to come and talk to anybody about what they might be seeing out in their ecosystem or in the Estrine ecosystem. Also to new members like the representative from Epping, very happy to come to Epping and chat about some of the things we're seeing. As I've said before, this stuff is incredibly complicated and always changing, but happy to talk about it, and just feel free to reach out to me. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Any other? All right, moving on to public
Sorry,
comment.
Brendan.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I think I will just let folks know that, and I know Sally Sewell's on the call here as well, but that, the stakeholder committee had some initial funding that goes back to the beginning of MAM for a pilot project related, and we were proposing something related to advanced treatment septic systems, and we put that on hold for a variety of reasons. But PrEP's expert panel on advanced treatment septic systems did just recently wrap up its final report, and Sally and others have been discussing whether or not there's a project that might come out of that report to advance some of the recommendations. And we're, again, not ready to bring that forward, but just want to let you know that discussion is ongoing.
Great, that is great. That's good.
Yeah, I think it's good. Yeah, we've had some good conversations with PrEP, Melissa, folks from EPA, but still trying to sort out what we can pull out of there and coalesce into some sort of a project.
Is that was there like a report or a memo that was created? I'd love to kind of see.
Yeah, we probably
Oh,
circulated.
did you?
the document,
You might
didn't
have.
we?
Yeah, Dover circulated that at the meeting. I think you emailed that.
Yeah, I'll follow up with you.
I can email it around again. We can make sure it gets out again.
Okay, public comment? Seeing none, any other business? All right, moving on, schedule for the next meeting and agenda items. Typically, we've had kind of a check-in to our adaptive management plan status in kind of January, February of each year. We were thinking of doing that, but maybe not sticking exactly to the framework of the adaptive management plan, but kind of updates on kind of where everybody is, progress on these items, kind of momentum that's happening. Does that make sense? Any other topics you're looking to include?
Hopefully we'll have an update on Dover and the creation or failure of the stormwater utility.
Yeah.
I should have mentioned under stakeholder comment, we have the public hearing next Wednesday. The council's had a workshop, and the naysayers have been reaching out to the council. I thought we had council support, but now the anti-tax, don't do this people are really clamoring to the council. So it'll be interesting to see how next week's public hearing goes. I think timing, they're going to have the second reading and the vote as well next Wednesday, so we may know if it's coming or not. I don't know what to expect. We're trying to count votes behind the scenes, but we have no idea how it's gonna work out.
Well, maybe if you guys are willing, we could kind of carve out some time, you can talk about that process.
Yeah, I'm
It's
hoping we'll talk
interesting.
about its passing, but
Yeah,
I have no idea right now.
Yeah.
I do consider myself a gambling person, but I don't know where I bet this to go, so. I don't know, coin toss.
all right. So let's pick a date. Sometimes January is pretty crazy for everyone, so do you want to try early February?
Before you jump to that,
Okay,
could
sure.
I ask or offer some comment?
Absolutely.
So, I have to admit, I'm confused. So in Milton, we have a number of groups proposing to do various things. We got $100,000 grant that I had started talking with Jen King, Three Ponds Protective Association, about doing, and it was intended to be a nitrogen study. I was hoping to get facts, figures, some water quality results to see what the background nitrogen is flowing into the Milton Three Ponds, because it's like a 300-acre watershed. And where it's the, I won't say the headwater, but the largest water body contributing, if you will, to the Salmon Falls River directly, where do we stand? Well, when the document finally came out of, call it study, we have zero water quality sampling being done at all. It got down to the $100,000 would be a study, to study how we would study, grabbing samples for studying from the water. And I'm more for action rather than study. And at the same time, the Pond Protective Association applied for themselves separately for another grant that they want to do a watershed study. And again, that will be a study on how to prepare a study, I guess. And I'm just really, I guess what I'm asking of the group is, do you think my frustration is warranted? Or do you think, really, no, Chris, this is the way things get done to help you to move on to the next step? So, because I'm at a kind of a crossroads of whether I continue to throw my support, the town's support behind things that only generate a study. And where that comes from is when I was in Hampton, the joke around town was if there was ever a problem, we'd allocate $100,000, we'd study, and then we'd find a place on the shelf for the study.
Yeah.
And put it right there. And that's why I'm not really enamored about the study without any work at all. And the opposite is I like this work that this group does because we go into the bay and we are doing the monies that, and thankfully to Dover, Rochester, Somersworth, you're putting up the majority of the money. But I'm glad to see that actually something's getting done. Some analysis is getting done, some research is getting done, some results are getting, and my frustration is And my question is, do I just sit back and let these two studies go forth? Because they will probably then get, let's say the next round of funding would actually get an actual Brown and Caldwell or somebody like them and actually give me the results, or am I, is my concern legitimate that I'm just spending money to, we're seeing federal dollars, state dollars spent on studies that, unless there's somebody in my town that wants to pick up the ball in the next 5 years, that, you know, it's not gonna go anywhere, it's not gonna result in anything, so. That's my dilemma. And if people wanna call, this is one of those meetings where they're kind of
Yeah.
bomb questions, nobody says anything right at the table.
Oh,
But
no.
later
yeah,
on, the
I'll say
email,
something.
the
I
email
know, I was
chain
gonna say,
lights up and goes.
Sally
goes.
is like,
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah.
But possibly, Chris, it may not need to involve these folks. I can speak to both of those projects.
Okay.
I can either speak to it here or I can do it separately.
No,
It's
we
up
can
to
do
you.
it separately, I just,
Okay.
one, it's to let other members know that we are, I see these results down in the bay, and I always question, well, what's going to the bay? Are we part of the problem? Are we, you know, what can we do to be more of the solution? Because I really do appreciate what Dover Rochester, Summersworth picks up the dollar lion's share. And
not, yeah, not so much.
I'm sorry, in Portsmouth. No, sorry, the big three, I'll say. The big three pick up the lion's share. And I've always expressed to my people, you should be very thankful for what they've allowed us to participate. We were in from the beginning. We don't pick up a lion's share, but we will all benefit from this, the information. So that's, you know, that's part of me wants to say, okay, maybe I should shut up. Just let these two things go forward, and that you will, this group will then benefit. Okay, here's a watershed at the headwaters. This is what it produces for nitrogen. This is how it addresses nitrogen. So, yeah.
So just real quick, one of those projects is for a watershed plan to look at phosphorus loading to the 3 ponds because they have cyanobacteria.
Right.
So that'll look at the lake
That was Jen's.
LLMP data that they
Yeah.
collect, that
Okay.
water quality data. We can evaluate whether we can tack on nitrogen loading to that model. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
Okay.
Once that plan is done, any project that comes up in that watershed will be eligible for funding from DES to implement that project.
Phosphorus.
Yeah, phosphorus control stuff.
Yeah.
We cannot put money on the ground or in the ground until that analysis is complete. That's how our grants work. You have to go through the study before you can get the implementation funding. But that study will quantify the phosphorus load to the ponds and then figure out what the reduction is needed to reduce the frequency of cyanobacteria blooms. Like I said, we can evaluate tacking on nitrogen for that. The second thing, that $100,000 thing, it's my understanding that that is funding to help you develop nitrogen control plans that are required by your MS4 permit.
For $100,000,
That's a well-funded
that's a
plan.
very well-funded plan.
That's what I
You should
thought.
get,
I was like, wow.
Yeah. And that's a no match thing.
Yeah, no, I know. So,
but hopefully, I mean, hopefully you do push them to get something good, like a real, some sort of plan.
And I think they need to be brought
Designs.
together. So this thing that's being done for the lakes and the nitrogen control plan, somehow we have to figure out a way to merge them so that they come out and are
you and I definitely.
a useful
Yeah,
tool.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just to,
And I'd forgotten about that part, to be qualified, you, future funding, you have to do
Yeah.
the study. for
yeah,
And
the
the
city of
same,
Portsmouth has done that for Hodgson Brook.
correct.
And that's how we've gotten funding to do
Okay.
then some of the projects. And
Yeah.
Sagamore Creek is our next, you know, maybe at some point, do a
And
watershed plan. for that.
Rochester's been through it,
And
Dover's
yeah,
been
Dover
through
went through it
it,
and
and you're in
Yeah,
good
listed.
company.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
everybody
That's
all
what I
feels the planning is a pain, but we go through it. Eric, cover your ears on the internet out there. But it will result in a document that is actionable,
Okay.
and it will result in things that quantify the load reductions you need to see water quality.
Yeah, well, then I already feel better about
Yeah.
trying to continue to stay behind it.
Yeah.
It just
Yeah, don't fail.
seemed that there was a flood of them coming in at the same time.
They
Like
are.
Everybody, one person wanted to study this side of the door and somebody else wanted to study that side of the door, and I'm like,
Brought together.
Yeah.
Paula, do you have anything to say to that?
or otherwise?
Yeah, thank you. I can't quite see the person who was asking that question. Who was the gentleman's name?
Chris Jacobs.
Hey, Chris, I think that's, like Jamie said, a really, really great question, and I'm happy you asked it. Never shut up, never surrender. And I just wanted to point out to folks, you may have seen some emails about it. There's a Piscataqua Region Monitoring Collaborative meeting on December 14th from 12 to 3. And many of you have been invited, but if you haven't, shoot me an email at kmotso@unh.edu, and I can give you all the information. The kind of question you asked, Chris, is going to be talked about a lot. You know, it's not just about studying. Jamie is a great spokesman for this. We study so that we can actually do something about it. And yeah, there are people, I work with some of them at UNH who study just because they like to study, but we really are about action. So if anybody wants to join that conversation on Thursday, December 14th from 12 to 3, just shoot me an email.
Good, thank you.
Yeah, and Chris, your neighbor to the north, the Acton Wakefield Watersheds Alliance, they did a plan for the 5 lakes in their region, a watershed plan similar to what Milton Three Ponds is going to do. And they have since received like 6 rounds of implementation funding for us, and they have done multiple BMP installations from everything from like people's backyard to gravel roads. So once that plan is in place, the money does start to flow.
Okay.
But the program is such that that's just how it works. And I believe that's Jamie Poole's comment about the funding takes so long. That this is so true. I think sometimes we can't find funding for projects and that takes a while. And then other times grants get submitted and they don't get approved, so they get resubmitted the next year and then they finally get approved. Then we have to go through governor and council and that takes a half a year. And so that's a legit comment right there. It sometimes takes a long time. And then by the time it's approved, you're like, why are we doing this? So I get it.
Okay, all right.
So,
That's good. No, I feel better. And you're right, I'll do some looping.
Yeah.
All right.
But I have to say, this is one of the benefits of hanging around in this
Oh,
group, is that we
absolutely.
get to hear what's going on in Dover and feel your pain. I tend to ask the same kind of questions.
Oh, and Exeter's been through it too. I
We've been a
forgot. I'm so
long
sorry.
history
You've been
there.
through the planning process.
Yeah, back when it was a nitrogen control plan required by the wastewater treatment plant. So, yeah, so if you're getting all this learning in a short amount of time, grab onto it.
It's not so much a learning on my part, it's just as a TA, a general frustration of, I've got, as I said, a number of Indians, other people trying to be chiefs, and they're all seeming to pull in different directions without talking to each other, and thus, so at times, yeah, I'm by myself going, hold on, why are we doing this? Because, one of the things I found out was like for one of them is that 3 months into the application process, they're like, oh, can you give us a letter of support for this? For what? And they were like, oh, well, 3 months ago, we applied for, oh, that's nice to know, because that part of the table now? Oh, no, we didn't write that, oh, okay. So that's what you're hearing, is that frustration of some things being late to the dinner table. So,
Yep, and that does happen.
yeah, and because I questioned when the second one came out, well, why isn't this nitrogen in possible? Well, no, you don't upset the apple, we've already got that. Oh, okay. So,
Well, so that's a thanks to DES for being flexible on your end. I
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think you guys are smart on your end of being able to say, okay, yeah, you're right, let's try to do this together, so.
Yeah.
Um,
because I don't want to derail either one in its entirety, but at the
Well,
same
and if the
time,
products can be used, we need to make sure we're not like double paying for different products, right?
Yeah,
So we need to make sure those 2 projects somehow come together at some point.
Okay,
And I think that can happen.
all right, good.
I say that now.
I know.
We'll do our best.
Well, maybe we'll get an update from that at our next meeting.
Yes, I'll try.
Sounds
Yes.
good. So,
Okay.
I'm gonna throw out, how about February 8th? Gets us through that first month.
Yeah, definitely not January. January's already.
That's fair. And you can push it out later. I don't think there's anything hugely pressing, except, I do think there's some housekeeping stuff to do, and then I always think it's good to have a mid-year checkup. So any issues with February 8th, same time, 1 to 3? All right, and anyone want to host?
I will.
Awesome. The one thing, typically, when you're hosting, you'll have someone do the minutes. And I know Dennis used to have somebody come in and did the minutes for him. But if you have trouble with that, let me know and we'll see if we can find somebody.
Okay.
So just, that's awesome. So we'll host in Newington at the wastewater treatment plant. All right. Motion to adjourn.
Yes, and keep in mind the executive board members are going to hold their second meeting for about 5 minutes to approve the outstanding minutes.
Thank you.
Before everyone ties up really fast.
Thank
I need a couple of you.
All
So,
right, so moved by John,
second,
seconded by Suzanne. All those in favor?
aye.
Aye. All right, cool, thank you. And we will go directly into the executive committee meeting. And
You
again,
want
this
me
is.
to keep recording this?
I assume the production folks could split it off maybe, or not? Or is it easier to open up another Zoom again? We don't need anyone on, all our members are here present.
Right.
I-
Yeah, we
you know,
can
it's-
probably, I bet we can leave it and they can split it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Great. All right, so I apologize for the last executive board meeting, not having the minutes from last year available. But we've got them now, and I went ahead and made sure we also had the minutes from the last meeting. So this is literally housekeeping.
Yeah.
So we've got all the members here of the executive board. And I would entertain a motion for approval of the November 2022 minutes.
So moved.
You need a second.
Exeter, Dover, there you go.
And all in favor? Aye.
I'm going to abstain.
Stay.
All right, and motion for the November 2023 minutes. Okay, thanks, John. Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Stay.
All right, and I take a motion to adjourn.
So we
Yes, good, all right.
Great, thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jamie.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, take this.
Yep.